Hello and welcome to Around the ACHA Men's Division I. I'm Allyson Cummings alongside Dominic Cotroneo. Now, we just got back from Thanksgiving, although our friends up north in Canada, well, they had Thanksgiving already in October.
It's the good life right there. Great hockey, some snow on the ground, and 75 degrees here. It's a little different, but hey, it must be nice.
And we're still stuffed on turkey.
Well, let's get to the hockey, though. Let's move on from the turkey talk. It's officially time for the end of the season here, the calendar year. After starting this season a perfect 18 for 18, the Broncos from Central Oklahoma have hit a speed bump, losing 2 of their last 3. Both losses for UCO have something in common: 1-goal losses and running into red-hot goalies. Alex Steidler from Colorado State stopped 28 shots in a 2-1 win, and Michael Hales of Lindenwood, he shut out the potent Broncos offense, saving 26 shots himself. But don't slouch on the UCO goalies, Torrey Caldwell and Bretton Patchett, the starters for the 2 losses respectively. But looking at the goalie comparison, the Broncos might have managed to clone a human and put him between the pipes. You look at their numbers, nearly identical records, pretty similar goals against averages, and also similar save percentages, and they match each other in shootouts. And for goalies that have had played in at least 10 games, they are 6th and 11th in goals against. Not bad numbers. So next up for the Broncos, number 2 right now in the rankings, they have the rivalry battle, the 7th-ranked Sooners. More on them later, though.
After being swept by Arizona State on November 13th and 14th, Minot State has picked up their momentum, defeating Arizona at Midland University. And by picked up their momentum, I mean scoring a combined 16 goals in their last 3 matchups. Let's talk about depth now, because in their last 3 games, 11 different Beavers scored. As you can see on the graphic, Jeremy Johnson has been rather quiet. He still leads the team in points, but in the last 3 matchups, he has averaged 0 points and 6 penalty minutes on November 15th. But not to fear, players such as Nick Zern and Brad Olnick have stepped up the offensive production. Now, 2 other offensive players that I did not mention are actually brothers, Lyndon and Bryce Lipinski. I got the opportunity to talk with both about what it was like growing up a fraternal twin. Minot State is known for being one of the top contenders in the ACHA. This season, they recruited Lyndon and Bryce Lipinski, twins, that have played together their whole life.
Well, when you live with each other for 21 years, it's some days are hectic, some days are good, so it's a good, even feel, I find. Play with my brother every year except for one, so it's definitely special. I know Mom and Dad like it a lot. It's easier for them. It's easier for me and Bryce, because when we go somewhere, it's like, oh, we don't know anybody, but when we go somewhere, we have each other, so it's nice to have him with me all the time.
On the ice, he's more of a finesse guy. He's always been the one to look to get the puck in the net. Like, just growing up, he's always that guy. And off the ice, he's a good guy. Like you said, we have some days where we hate each other and some where we don't, but all in all, he's a good guy.
Yeah, we're definitely opposites. Like, he shoots right-handed, I'm left-handed. He's short, I'm taller, so it's definitely fraternal twins for sure. I find with me, I like to compete myself with my brother Bryce, but he doesn't really like to compete. I don't know, it's just kind of his personality, but I'm definitely a competitor over him, I find.
As Canada natives, the twins have enjoyed growing up in skates.
Out on the farm in Saskatchewan, we had a dugout there, and parents took us out there skating and didn't like it at first, and then Mom went and bought a pair of skates and showed that we can skate faster than her, so we just kept going with it after that.
Kept going with it, they did. And head coach Regier finds them each to be an asset on the Beaver squad.
You know, they bring 2 totally different skill sets. You know, Lyndon's more of an offensive playmaker, and Bryce is more of a gritty top centerman, tries to win most of the draws, kills a lot of penalties, and so they both complement each other really well. It's pretty unique to have those 2 guys playing, and it's great to have different skill sets, which hopefully will benefit our program.
Right now, the Twins have a combined 13 points, and Lyndon netted a goal in their last matchup against Midland University. Switching gears, here in Arizona, it dropped to a freezing cold 70 degrees. I have finals next week, and well, that marks the halfway point into the hockey season. With that comes a mid-season review, and bringing us that review is our friends at Stony Brook. So we're now going to send it over to New York for an update on the Seawolves.
And the Sun Devils have won the ACHA Men's Division I National Championship.
To see them, raising that trophy. It was heartbreaking. Couple bounces did go our way. We lost by 1, 4-3 game.
That's probably the most hurt I've been after a loss, when you get that close to something that for the rest of your life you get to enjoy. And, you know, it hurt, and it still hurts now to think about how close we really were, and then to have it taken away from you is just, it's tough.
We finally got the monkey off our back with them.
The Stony Brook Seawolves defeat the Arizona State University Sun Devils.
We came back against them. We were down 3-0, and we just came into the locker room after the first period. We had a big late goal from Cotcamp, and
Ryan Cotcamp scores!
there's a good atmosphere in the locker room. We came out, got to work, and we grinded out the game.
Lock it down. Deflection into net! What a deflection!
You know, we're winning games. The boys are playing hard. They're playing well. We bring a pretty consistent atmosphere every game.
Flames 3-on-1. Garcia in front, tipped. Oh, great save there by Jones.
We're 15-3 going into the second half. We're ranked 5th in the country, and we haven't even had everyone in our lineup that needs to be in the lineup.
For the second semester, we have a couple secret weapons coming off the IR.
We've been missing Kavanaugh all year. Kevin Kavanaugh, who's probably our best skating defenseman, best puck moving defenseman. He's a game changer.
Since I've been here, the team has been built up. Every year we've gotten better, and this year we have all the tools in place. It's always been next year's our year. Next year's our year. For a lot of us, it's our last year.
This is the best team, yeah, that we've had definitely here, and I know most of us are seniors, so you know we're all going harder this year, and the second half's gonna be fun.
We got to take it one game at a time, one period at a time, one shift at a time. Nothing's given. The road to nationals isn't easy, and it's going to be a battle.
It's nice to, you know, finish in the top 5 in the rankings. It's nice to win the league or, you know, the league championship. But at the end of the day, national championship is the hardware we want, hardware we need.
You can't be dropping any game, especially with how the rankings are. You know, you drop one game, you could drop a couple spots.
This is the culmination of everything. All the work we put in the last 2 years, the recruiting, everything. Yeah, if we don't win national championship, I consider it a failure.
This season won't be anything less than a national championship. It would be a loss.
Yes, completely. There's no silver medal, there's nothing. It's either we win or it's been a bust.
And we're here to stay. We're here to make an impact and show people that we're the real deal.
The Sooners in Norman have had an up and down year thus far. They've reached as high as number 3 in the rankings, but have also slid down to number 7. They are in an even split in the season series with Lindenwood at 2 apiece. They lost their first matchup with ASU after ending their perfect season last year, and now they get ready for the rivalry weekend matchup with UCO. We talk a lot about teams and their skills and the players on the ice, but let's talk about something different this time. For the past couple of weeks on the official Facebook and Twitter for the ACHA, we've been asking for the best goalie masks in the league. And OU clearly knows somebody because they headline the list. Right now we look at Colin Fernandez, the current goalie right now for OU, really sporting a clean and sharp design. We also get to see Louis Lieben and a couple others as well coming up here. You see his really fashionable with both sides getting something going on, and a constant here is the Boomer Sooner being featured down there on the chin as well. And lastly, Holmes' bucket is also fantastic as well. Very clean with the sharp maroon that they use, it's just a great mask. And you can also check out the entire gallery on Facebook. And it's not too late to send in your own submissions. You can send them there or on Twitter at ACHA Hockey.
Thanks so much, Dom. Those are some pretty sweet helmets, if I do say so myself. But they don't outmatch the helmet that I wear when I go to bed. But enough about my personal life. Let's get to some of the rankings. A lot's changed up, but one thing that has stayed the same is Arizona State. They still claim that number 1 overall spot after being number 1 for the past 2 weeks. But Central Oklahoma is still number 2 after they have lost 2 out of their last 3 games. But it seems like the 3rd seed has been changing up every single week. But you know who claims that now? The Ohio Bobcats. That's absolutely right. Number 4 is going to be Adrian, even though they have a better record than Ohio. Arizona State still claims the best record in the ACHA at 20-2. So there's still a lot of hockey left to play. So we're going to see how that all shakes up. I'm going to send it back to Allie at the desk.
Big news for the Sun Devils, and I believe big news is spelled NCAA. Arizona State has announced their transition to become a varsity program starting the 2015 season. With more on that, I'm going to send it over to Nicole Vasquez and Troy Lynch.
Well, you said it, Allie. ASU is now preparing to face off against NCAA teams as soon as next season. However, this season's quite not finished yet. In the press conference, Coach Powers said they still have some unfinished business to do. Troy, how do they stay focused and not let all that hype affect their mentality as they finish out the season?
Well, they just got to keep doing what they're doing. I mean, they are 20-2 right now, so they're number one, and they're going to stay number one. And the reason for that is they stay focused and they don't let other teams get into their head. I mean, they've lost 2 games this season already. They only had 2 losses in the entire last season. But what did they do after those 2 losses? They refocused and they started winning again. So as long as they keep the same system going, they should be fine.
And that has a lot to do with having a stacked recruiting class. Now, Coach Powers sat and met with each of the players before the announcement. Connor Schmidt said that he outlined the expectations that need to be met as they go through this transitional phase. How do you think that affects their game plan as they start facing off against these grittier opponents?
Well, obviously they had a big target on their back from winning the national championship last year, but now they have an even bigger target on their back as they are going to the NCAA. And how good would it be to say that you beat an NCAA team? But if you look at the rest of ASU's schedule, you see that they're pretty tough. All right, and in teams, they normally play ASU physically, but there might be even more physically challenged for ASU. So ASU, they just need to stay focused. They need to expect more hits coming from these other teams. And, you know, chippy play, it's going to be the norm for them. But as long as they stay focused, like I've said, they're going to be good.
Now, the last time they faced an NCAA opponent was 2 years ago against Penn State, which they came out with a 3-1 victory. Now, if they were to play an NCAA team this weekend, how do you think the rosters stack up?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because ASU, they've had some injuries over the past season, and obviously when you have a guy out like Ryan Ostertag, who's a goal-scoring machine, and they also lost some defensive depth because Gianni Mangoni, he's not out. He was a great factor this year, but I think if they're at full strength, they'll be able to compete with some of these NCAA teams because they did have a lot of NCAA talent on their team. Robert Levin, Chris Burkemper, Ryan Belanger all had NCAA Division I offers but decided to play at ASU. So I think they'll be good going into next season.
Now hopefully they'll get some of those guys back starting next semester. Now we'll switch it back to the desk where Allie will talk about Niagara.
A certain team that has climbed the ranks this season has been Niagara. Currently sitting at 12-3, the Purple Eagles have outscored their opponents by a ratio of 19-5 in their past 5 games. I caught up with the mastermind to this program, head coach Brzezikowski, earlier in the week, and here's what he had to say.
Coach, you guys are currently 12-3 on the season. You jumped to number 15 in the ranks. What would you say goes into your team's strength?
Definitely our leadership, our captains, our veterans, players like Max Hyland, Patrick Ryan, Seth Gustin, veterans like Patrick Gregory, Michael Parter, our goalie, Cody Helbig, Dalton Bew, a rookie, even though he's a rookie, he plays like a vet. It's our vets, our captains. They keep a tight locker room. We're like a family in there. There's no cliques. The guys are playing well, and they keep a tight leash on the guys.
Yes, and having a tight-knit group of guys really helps with the success. But talk a little bit of the success of your goalie, Mike Parda. He is currently 11-3 on the season with a 92% save percentage. How's he been for you?
Wow, Michael's been great. When I recruited him, he's everything I thought he would be. He's come in, he's been the stud backer, he's been the anchor. He's made the big saves when we need him to make them. It allows our team to play more aggressive. Guys can take chances. They know we got a stone wall back there. So Mike's every bit as advertised. I think he's one of the best goalies in the country. Can't be happier with him.
Exactly, and that's really key. But going off of that, according to the ACHA, he's played every game except for Corey Leonard, who played 1 game. Do you really see Parda as your go-to guy?
Michael's our number 1. The other goalies know that. The team knows that. The coaching staff knows that. He's our guy. He's going to play the big games. We'll try to get the other guys in. They're capable. But when you got somebody as good as Mike, he's your guy. and you find a legit starter like that that's can steal you some games and keep you in other games, you keep rolling with them, and hopefully we can work the other guys in. But yeah, Mike's our guy going forward, and everybody knows that.
And then your games against Naval Academy were postponed due to weather. We don't really experience that over here in Arizona, 75 degrees. But when they resume, what are you expecting from Naval Academy?
Yeah, hopefully we can get those rescheduled. We're looking at Martin Luther King weekend. Yeah, Navy's a team that never quits. Their discipline's unbelievable. Their conditioning is outstanding, and like it should be, it's the Naval Academy. So those things, are expected. So yeah, we've got to play discipline with them. We can't try to run and gun with them and try to outskate them. We normally wear teams down. We're pretty conditioned, pretty in shape, but obviously we're not in shape like Navy guys. So yeah, we just got to play our game. We expect nothing but their best. They're a good hockey team. They're well coached, but we'd be ready for them.
And then your last game against Canisius College, 5 different guys scored, and Andrew Mitch scored twice for you guys. Talk a little bit about your team stats.
Yeah, wow. When you can roll 4 lines, it's great. Guys know what their role is. Having 4 lines and not being afraid to throw that 4th line out there. Not even afraid to substitute guys that aren't in those top 4 lines. We got guys in the 5th line that have popped in and done a job really good as well. But yeah, we don't like to call our lines 1, 2, 3, 4. We call them colors. We've got a lot of veterans, a lot of guys that can score. But then you got the guys that got to grind it out, the bangers, the PKers. It's a good group. Yeah, so when you got the depth like that, we can play any 12 guys on a penalty kill and not worry about it. It's awesome.
And depth is definitely key in succeeding, but do you feel like your team has developed that killer instinct in finishing out games?
More than in the past. It's one of those things in the past we've let off the gas a little bit, and teams have kind of sneaked back into it, and they're like, okay, we got to buckle down again. Our guys are finally taking pride this year in playing 60 minutes of hockey, and nobody can play full 60. But, we try to play as much close to 60 as we can. And guys have finally realized that they can't take shifts off. One line, say the 4th line goes out and plays an unbelievable shift and controls the momentum for 45 seconds. Well, the next shift thinks they have to outdo them. So it's almost like a mini competition. It's great. And all lines feed off of each other.
Do they talk about that mini competition after the game?
Oh, yeah, the busting's going on, and, who won shifts and who won battles and who lost battles, and oh yeah, it's I try to stay out of that mess, but yeah, the kangaroo court and all that. It's like I say, we're a tight knit group, and the guys feed off each other. So one line goes out and has a good shift. The other line feels if they don't do that, if they don't win their shift, they're letting the guys down, and nobody wants to do that with this team.
That's definitely good that the team chemistry is strong. What would you say the team's biggest strength is overall?
It's communication. It's a few things. Communication, the depth, like we spoke about, the veterans, the big game players. Like we mentioned, Michael Parter before. You got Patrick Gregory, Max Hyland, Cody Helbig, Andrew Mitch, like we spoke about. Dalton Buse, been an unbelievable freshman stud for us. Charlie Chamberlain. The list goes on, and it seems like one of those times if one of our top couple guys aren't coming through, then the bottom guys are coming through. So, we don't have to rely on 2 or 3 guys. We've got, 19 to 21 guys dressed, and it seems like any certain night, anybody can step up, and I think that's the key to our team.
And with that, what would you say the team's biggest weakness is?
Weakness, too fancy. We've got a lot of skill on the team. These guys will try to make that extra toe drag or that extra backhand sauce backdoor instead of just sniping it. We got some guys who can really fire the buck on this team. You get in the paint, you get in the crease area. These guys can snipe, but they want to make that ESPN highlight pass and go for the pretty goal. And a lot of times you've been following hockey, it's the dirty goals, the tips, the rebounds. That's what wins you a lot of games. So a lot of times you got to tell the guys, don't worry about that. Just get dirty, get in the grit, take the shots, and put the fancy stuff away and get back to old time hockey.
Oh yeah, rebounds are definitely key, especially in this league. But now that it's the second half of the year with nationals coming up, are you changing your focus a little bit?
Not at all. It's one game at a time. We've got Rhode Island next weekend. I think they're ranked 10th in the country. We're not even thinking about Saturday. We're thinking about Friday. I'm not worried about playoffs. I'm not worried about nationals, second semester. Right now our focus is on Rhode Island next weekend. And like I say, it's Friday, the next game. One game at a time. That's all we're thinking about right now.
and Rhode Island are definitely a bigger, more physical team. How are you preparing to face them?
You know what, Joe does a great job at Rhode Island. It's a well-coached team, well-disciplined team. They're a very talented team. Last year we swept them in our barn. The year before that we split in their barn. I expect to go there and have 2 great games. Hopefully our aggressiveness and our talent prevail 2 victories. We just got to play our game. We're going to dictate the game. That's our one focus this year. Is in years past, we've come on out and we've tried to make game plan adjustments to what the other team's strengths are. What are we going to do? Are we going to play a trap? Are we going to play this? A 1-2-2? No, we're not doing much of that this year. We're playing our game. We want to dictate our style of hockey, make the other team adjust, and it's been working out for us.
So you would say that you plan for each different team the same way, just focus on yourself?
Every good coaching staff will scout a team. They'll see what their power play is, what their tendencies are. You might tweak it. We don't really change our breakup very much. We don't change our defensive zone very much. We might change a few little things, depending on what they have. Like when we played Arizona State, we had to make some adjustments there. They're the number 1 team in the country. Obviously, you're going to do that. And you just got to tinker with it a little bit, but you don't want to leave too much to your game. Like I say, we want to play our game. We want to make sure we dictate the way the game's played.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Coach.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Have a good night.
The games against Rhode Island will definitely be a challenge. The Rams are on a 5-game winning streak, and they have a brick wall for a goalie in Andrew Sherman, boasting a 1.57 goals against average and a 95% save percentage.
Colorado State is prowling on the side of the fence that looks inside of the top 20 teams into the playoff tournament. Members of the powerful WCHL, their tough conference schedule could get them into the playoff. Their marquee win came against the Central Oklahoma Broncos as well. That ended their perfect season at the time. They'll get another crack at UCO next month, but just dropped back-to-back games with the Iowa State Cyclones. Also, the Rams' schedule is packed in the 2015 calendar year. With their 11-9 record, the Rams sound like a promising squad. However, a 4-7 mark on the road and half of their remaining games away from the Adora Pool Ice Center, then that mark will have to change. Their first series in the new year is 4 games long in as many days against 3 different teams, all on the East Coast. We'll see if the Rams can make it out against Niagara, Mercyhurst, and John Carroll. Then, if they can break through the fence that keeps them on the outside of the top 20.
Robert Morris, Illinois showcased their depth in their last series against Rochester College, where 7 different Eagle players found the back of the net, and they outscored their opponent by a ratio of 10-3. Moving forward into this weekend, they face their CSCHL rival, Illinois. Fun fact, Robert Morris head coach Adradas is good friends with head coach Fabrini of Illinois. Not only that, but he's familiar with the Olin brothers on the Fighting Illini. Having Joe Olin in net is not an easy task because he currently holds a 92% save percentage. Here is what Coach Adradas had to say about this goaltender.
Well, it's funny because I worked pretty closely with Joey when I was working at the AAA level, and when Joey was playing junior also a little bit. I had a chance to do some lessons with him, so I know Joey very well. I coached his older brother, John, who's probably Illinois' best player. So I know the family very, very well. They're terrific people. It's a great hockey family. Joey's a very good goaltender, so the formula for success against all good goalies is try to get in the way of their line of sight with the puck, try to get to rebounds, try to get them moving side to side, and it'll be no different against Joey. We want to make sure that we're going to the net hard, that we're setting up good screens and making it difficult for him to see the puck.
Now let's talk about a team that I normally talk about here at the desk, but instead we have Nicole Vasquez and Kyle Kercheval here to talk about the Liberty Flames.
Thanks, Dom. The Flames have had a hot and cold season, and recently they've been bitten by the injury bug, including their freshman star Luke Hannon, who played through an injury against the last series against Oakland. How have they been able to rally back from these injuries?
Nicole, the key for Liberty all season has been the offense, and that's what we've seen come through during this rough patch for the Flames, who, like you said, have really been struggling from some injuries. However, Luke Hannon and Lindsay LeBlanc currently sitting at the top of not only their league or the team at the ACHA in scoring, and of course Luke Simon sitting down there on the graphic at number 7. All 3 of those guys have been absolutely critical to this team's performance in getting through this rough patch. For a team that averages 5.5 goals per game, that kind of production is going to need to stay at the top if they want to battle through this injury-ridden part of the season.
Now, how does having like a 1-2 punch with LeBlanc and Hannon affect their game coming down the wire?
Yeah, it's absolutely huge, especially headed into the second part of the season. Having 2 go-to guys on your team is a thing that I think a lot of teams in this league would be envious. At any level, you love to have 2 guys that you can turn to in these tough situations, especially down in the third period, in overtime, and in shootouts. Having 2 guys you can rely on not only gives your team confidence, but it gives your coaching staff confidence, and it just really changes the game in your favor.
They've played the comeback kid role as of late, especially against Davenport and Oakland. Do you see them becoming consistent down the road?
You know, I really think they can, but there's 2 things that this Liberty team needs to clean up if they want to have a legitimate shot at staying consistent in the second half of the season. First thing is goaltending. They've started and played 4 different keepers this year, which it's been a challenge for them trying to find the right guy, that one guy that they can rely on to give you a quality performance every single time. And that goaltending squad is giving up 5 goals per game during losses. Even with an offense that averages 5.5 goals per game, it puts a lot of extra pressure on your goaltending. So if Liberty can find a go-to goalie, that's going to be huge. The second thing for them is penalties, something they really need to cut down on. Nicole, we talk about it all of the time. Penalties are absolutely crucial for teams, and right now we're seeing that with Liberty. Lindsay LeBlanc, who's that number 2 guy in the ACHA in scoring, also has a lot of penalty minutes. I think it's around 45 or something. I'll have to look at that statistic again. But overall, the penalties have just been an issue, averaging 20 minutes a game for the team. If you want to have your scorers out on the ice, they need to stay simply out of the box. And that's something I really think this Liberty team, if they clean up on, they get the goaltending headed in the right direction, and they get the penalties cleaned up, this number 11 team, wow, they are looking to move up, and I think they have a legitimate shot at being a powerhouse in this league.
Consistent goaltending and staying out of the box will come into factor as this team gets closer to the national tourney. Now we'll head back to Allie.
Coach Hogan did not waste much time over in Ohio because the Bobcats are at an impressive 16-4 record. The 4 losses were all by a small margin. They lost in overtime to Iowa State, lost by 1 goal to Illinois. Then there was a shootout loss to rival Robert Morris, Illinois, and a 1-0 shutout loss to West Virginia, who scored their goal unassisted in the first period. But when the Bobcats are on point, they make it count, averaging 4.2 goals a game. This weekend they face Rutgers, who are looking to come back from their 4-game losing streak.
In last week's ranking, the Wildcats were sitting on the right side of the fence at number 20. They finished up a 3-game East Coast trip with Rutgers and Drexel, and they come home with 2 wins. Now they've had a full 2 weeks to prepare for the reigniting of the Cactus Cup rivalry with Arizona State. The Devils took the first 2 games on the series back on their home ice in October, but don't let the 4-1 and 3-0 scores fool you. The Wildcats looked like the team that crashed the ASU senior night party last season. Now they come home to the Tucson Convention Center with 3,000 of their loudest fans packing the arena. The number 1 Sun Devils know what's coming, but ASU has not lost in Tucson since 2009, a grand total of 1,906 days. The WCHL Duel in the Desert takes place Friday and Saturday to conclude both teams' semester schedules. Now we get ready to send it over to Troy and Nicole for a little more on a team that we don't normally talk about, Michigan Dearborn.
The Wolverines finished their first sweep of Sigawah Valley. They just won their first championship, the Great Lakes Showcase. Yet they're still 11-2. Why have they had such a rocky season, Troy?
Well, they are actually 11-12 right now. A little more rockier than 11-2, but that's totally okay. But Michigan Dearborn, they're a classic example of a team that plays well at home and then not so well away. Their record home is 7-4, but their record away is 3-7, and that's never good. But also, Michigan Dearborn is a team that likes to play to the level of their opponents, which can be good and bad. It can be bad in the sense if you're playing unranked teams like Kent State and Western Michigan, and the games are a lot tighter than they normally should be, and maybe they eventually lose. And that's exactly what happened in the earlier this season. But it also also can be a good thing because they can compete with some of the top teams in the league like Adrian, Iowa State, and Illinois. So this team has a lot of potential, but their record does not show it.
You mentioned that they're able to skate with those top 10 teams. How have they been able to do that?
Well, they have 5 guys on their team that really like to share the puck, and their chemistry is through the roof. As you can see on the graphic, you have players like Jeffrey McFarland and Gino Darren, and they're the goal-scoring machines for that team. But if you look at the other 3 top 5 point scores, they all have over 20 assists. So that just goes to show how consistently they can pass, how well they can pass, and that definitely opens up the shooting lane. But the problem with the top 5 point leaders is that they have a total of 167 penalty minutes. And like we said over and over, and even Kyle said it in the last segment, if you're in the box, you can't score goals.
Now, they play Rochester this weekend. Do you think they're going to make it over that 500 mark?
Well, I think they will. They have a lot of potential, but playing away always spells concern for the Wolverines. And another word that might spell concern for the Wolverines is Zach Olvin. That's Zach with 2 Ks. Remember that. Zach Olvin is the goalie for Rochester, and he's not too shabby. He has 545 saves on the year, and he also has a 92% save percentage. So look for him to be a definite factor in that game. But I think if the Wolverines, if their chemistry starts rolling, they should be able to take care of business.
We'll see how that plays out this weekend. Now we'll send it back to the desk for Take It or Leave It.
Thanks, Nicole. Now we bring in Zuriel Loving here to do a little game, and I'm a competitive type person here. It's time for Take It or Leave It. So this is a game where you'll give us a statement. We got to say if we take it or leave it, obviously. And it's the last one of the semester, so this has got to be good.
I'm putting my money on Allie. No offense, Dom. No offense. I know you're competitive.
You're having a good week with the Blackhawks winning, and I mean, the Stars are still slumping for me. You don't need to rub it in, okay?
I'm sorry.
I don't need to keep losing right now.
I'm sorry.
I'm competitive too. So
You're a Ducks fan. You know what losing is like.
Shots fired. Going forward, you mentioned a couple WCHL teams before. As of the last ranking, all 6 of them are ranked. Do you see all of them being ranked at the end of the year? Allie, take it or leave it.
I'm gonna definitely leave that one. Look, I think there's a lot of really talented teams in the WCHL, but the Colorados just simply aren't ready. They're a new Division I program. Look, maybe 5 years down the road, I could say I easily take it, but I don't think that Colorado's gonna end up ranked. They have a brick wall for a goalie in Alex Palumbo, great potential. I love Coach Nightenbach, he's great, but they just need more time.
If it's going to be Colorado, it needs more time. This is a team that took Arizona State to overtime on their ice. So
that's true.
They have the talent there. They have the capabilities. Now, it depends on what you say in the definition of ranking here. Are they ranked in the top 25 and they say they're in the 25 to 21 range if they miss the playoffs, or are they in the top 20 and going to the playoffs? I say all 6 teams will be ranked at the end of the season, but I don't think all 6 will make it to the playoffs. So I'm going to kind of leave it and kind of take it, if you can understand me on that one. But I really think that Colorado is very close, and a lot of people think Colorado State has a chance to pull things off, but I think U of A will actually have that 4th playoff spot to represent the WCHL.
I agree with both of you. I'm leaving it as well. Okay. I just don't see the Colorado teams as strong as the rest of the WCHL. Looking forward, Brad Coburn. He used to be number 1 on the points leaderboard, but he is now currently ranked 3rd with 42 points. Before the end of 2014, will Brad Coburn have over 50 points? Take it or leave it, Tom?
I'm going to take this one because I like bold predictions. I like offenses. Yes, Liberty has a potent offense as well right now, but Coburn proved early in the year that he could score at a livid, pace, just bang, 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 points after points, 4 points, followed by 2 points, and then another 3 points. All of a sudden, he just got that consistency. And I don't think if you wait a whole semester to get to 50 points, if he, really pushes himself, who knows? Magic can happen when you're just trying to find 8 points.
Here's the deal. Coburn's gonna go home for the holidays, he's gonna eat some Christmas cookies, he's gonna get some presents, and then he's gonna come back in January and make it to 50 points. I don't think he's gonna do it in 2014. Simply not enough time. You mentioned he's been kind of on a downfall. I think he'll pick it back up, but I don't think it's reasonable to say, hey, I know you love bold predictions, so I'm going to challenge you on that with my not-so-bold prediction.
What she's saying is, I believe in you, Brad Coburn. That's what's really she's trying to say.
He copped out on the last answer.
I'm going to have to go with Allie on this one. I don't think he's going to make it in 2014. He's only at 42 right now. Getting 50 in 2 or 3 games, I just can't see it. Sorry, Dom.
You just got to believe.
I'm sorry. Iowa State and Lindenwood. Lindenwood is ranked 6th, Iowa State 13th. They face off this weekend in Missouri. Do you see Lindenwood having a home sweep this weekend?
I'm going to have to take that one. Look, Lindenwood is a big team, they're physical, and they're talented. I think the Cyclones will pick up a really tough battle, but I don't think they're going to win, especially Lindenwood's barn. I mean, the team, they're just too tough.
Iowa State's had a very roller coaster year. I
Yeah.
mean, they've beat very good opponents. They've lost opponents that they probably should have beat. But Lindenwood is a team that we talked about earlier in the year. Their stacked schedule and how they struggled early on, but now they're starting to get the wheels going again. And I think the turning point for them was their win against Oklahoma. They were playing like the Lindenwood that has been to the semifinals so many times, and they're a national champion before as well. So I think Lindenwood will get the home sweep. It's always hard to win 2 games on the road if you're Iowa State, and then against Lindenwood in a tough environment. And Lindenwood's really got all the cylinders firing right now.
I would have to agree with both of you guys. I think that Lindenwood will have that home sweep, even though Iowa State did beat the same Oklahoma team that Lindenwood did.
They did.
But home ice always has the advantage, so I agree, but I'm going to have to give this one to Allie. Sorry, Dom.
But we agreed on one. We agreed on one. We
Yeah.
can just be happy with that and move along.
But if there are anyone from upstate New York watching me and seeing me as a Stars fan, I still think 1999 was totally legit. I'm sorry if I'm angering anybody right now.
Ooh. You might have just angered our friends over at Stony Brook. They made the Stony Brook segment for us.
Hey, guys, I'm sorry. We really appreciate it, though.
I really appreciate it. But just like that, it'll mark the end of the show. On behalf of all of our staff, Zuriel, Dom, Nicole, Troy, and Kyle, we thank you so much for watching. Busy week of hockey ahead of you. We don't want to hold you up. This has been Around the ACHA Men's Division I, brought to you by the Walter Cronkite Sports Network. Have a good night.